Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Cisco Live. Wow, I cannot believe it. Like, it's been 3 years. It feels so great to see all of these nice faces in front of me. I hope you're having a good time so far. It's going to be an awesome week, and we're going to spend the next 45 minutes all together. We're going to talk about Cisco Security Air Gapped deployment best practices. Quick housekeeping. If you didn't download it already, get the Cisco WebEx app. You're going to be able to use the Cisco Live mobile app as well. I'll be here all week. Please add this particular session to your WebEx app. We're going to be able to exchange information. There is a lot to cover during this session. And I strongly encourage you to download the entire presentation because there is a lot of reference side in the presentation. So let me introduce myself. My name is BenjaminRossignol. I'm a cybersecurity technical solution architect at Cisco. I've been working in the IT security industry for about 17 years, and I've been at Cisco for about 10 years now. I was born and raised in France. You can figure it out because of my accent. So my French side will say, this sounds sexy. My Canadian side, because I'm Canadian as well, I moved to Canada 20 years ago, will say, I'm sorry about my accent. So I will not be here without this awesome support from my beautiful family. My wonderful wife, Isabel, my amazing daughter, Charlotte, who's just 4 years old, and this little munchkin over here, Mathis, who just turned 2 years old on May 1st. So what's the agenda for today? I'm going to do a brief introduction about what is air gapping. Okay? Then I had to cover it, yes, licensing, okay? It could be challenging sometimes, especially when we introduce smart licensing. There was some challenge at the beginning in an air gap environment to license our solution in an offline world. Then I'm gonna do a quick feature analysis between air gap and connected network. I will focus on deployment best practices for two specific products, or advanced malware protection, private cloud, and threat grid appliance. Again, please have a look to the reference slide in the deck because there is tons of information and additional information around deployment best practices for firewall, for example, or identity service engine, and or content security product. Last but not least, I will show you and demonstrate how our integrated security architecture works perfectly fine in an air gap environment. So everyone is ready? Let's go. All right, a quick introduction. What is air gapping? Well, air gapping is a security measure that involves physically isolating a product or a network such that it never talks to the internet, or it never talks to another unsecure network, for example. It's mainly used in government, so think about the militaries, but that's not only it. So a good example, the financial system as well is using air gap. The perfect example is the stock exchange. And of course, power industry are using air gap environment. The last thing you want is to have your power grid connected to the internet. We all aware that internet is it's great to communicate, but it brings a lot of security risk, of course. And as a good friend of mine from Germany always say, cloud is for kids. We're all grown up, and we're focusing on air gap environment, right? So let's get started with the elephant in the room, the licensing, okay? We introduced Smart License a couple of years ago, and that created some challenge for a gap environment. Why? Because Smart License by default will require to have an internet connection. Your device will start communicating with what we call our Cisco Smart Software Manager in order to get the license, right? So that's one of the cons with respect to smart licensing. Also, not every product are under the smart license banner. There's still some products that rely on the traditional licensing. However, smart license is great. It's a centralized repository where you can see all your device, all the licenses that are attached to it. It makes the provisioning a lot easier. And if you remember the good old days with the product activation key, you were always looking, I remember I was doing that, looking for that email, where is my product activation key so that I can enable all the features on my firewall, for example, or where is that piece of paper that I cannot find, right? So It always takes time, but now you don't have to worry with smart license. So 3 options with smart licensing. As I mentioned, you have the direct way. Your product, your switch, your wireless LAN controller, your firewall will reach out to our public cloud infrastructure and get their license from there. Obviously, in an air-gapped environment, that's not gonna happen. One of the workaround or the other solution option that we have is to set up what we call a satellite server, also known as smart satellite, where that satellite only will talk to the smart software manager, and all your product only talk to the on-prem smart satellite server. However, many of you, if you have air-gapped environment, you may have multiple air-gapped environments, so you potentially will need to have that server in many different environments, and you have to maintain that server. Therefore, we have that complete offline licensing model, okay? And you're still gonna need a smart account. You need to make sure that you have the license reservation enabled for that smart account, and from that, you're gonna be able to use 2 options. Either the specific license reservation, where you're gonna select the exact license that you want to use. So for example, on your firewall, you just want to use the base license and the IPS license, you just select those 2. The other option is the universal permanent license reservation that will enable all the features automatically on that particular product. And I will give you some example on how to license some of the product. If we look at the different option product by product, if you're running the ASA on the legacy platform, you have to use the traditional one. There is no smart licensing option with the 5500X. If you're running all the new platforms, so the 1000 series, the 2000 series, the brand new 3000, the virtual instance, you need to use smart licensing, okay? So in an air-gapped environment, you will focus on either the universal permanent license reservation, also known as UPLR, or the SLR portion. If we look at ISE, or Identity Service Engine, you will have all the options, right? We just remember that starting with ISE version 3.0, it's smart license only. There is no more traditional license with ISE if you're running 3.0 or higher. If we look at security network analytics, also known as StealthWatch, you have all the options except SLR, and there's still the traditional option if you want, if you're running 7.1 or lower. And private cloud and secure analytics, it's traditional license only. And last but not least, the content security, so secure email and secure web, you have the smart and satellite option. And for a gap environment, you're gonna use the traditional licensing. Just keep in mind that the license reservation option, both permanent and specific license reservation, are coming soon with the content security product. So let's take an example. Most of the time, the procedure is the exact same one no matter the product, right? I choose to focus on ISE in that presentation because this is the latest product where we enable the offline licensing. So first thing, you need to validate the version that you are running. If you want to use offline licensing, you need to run 3.0 patch 2 and higher, okay? The way it works is very simple. You will log into your primary admin units of ISE, go to administration, click on system, select licensing, and you will see those 3 options: smart licensing registration, the permanent license reservation, and the specific license reservation. I will focus on the permanent license reservation option in that particular presentation. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna select permanent license reservation, click generate code, and that will generate a short string of characters, very, very, very similar to the product activation key. So this is what the UPLR is doing. If you were selecting the specific license reservation, it's usually a much bigger set of characters that you're not gonna be able to write down on a piece of paper. Why do I mention that? It's because many of the air-gapped environment, and especially I'm covering the Canadian federal government, so people are still using a good piece of paper, write down that license code or product activation key. And why a piece of paper? Because they can move it to a secure environment much easier than having like a USB key, for example, or another digital media, right? If you use a digital media, in some cases, you're not gonna be able to move that media in that secure environment, or it's gonna have to go through multiple security checks that can take a long time. So a good piece of paper, sometimes that works very well. So once you generated that request code, that reservation request code, you move to the Cisco Smart Software Manager, type it, select the license. Of course, you need to have the permanent license enabled in your Smart account. That will generate what we call an authorization code. So you generate that code, then write it down on a piece of paper again, go back to your ICE instance like this, and put that authorization code right there, enable it, and if you didn't make any typo, here you go. You're good to go. Your ICE deployment is fully licensed, and you can use all the features that you want and that you need. Now, something very important with the license reservation, if, for example, you're updating your appliance, right? You want a brand new model, or you had a problem with the virtual machine, you want to scale up that virtual machine, do not forget to return the license, because otherwise it's kind of stuck in the system. You're going to need to contact TAC such that they can remove that license from that particular unit. Okay, to return the license, quick steps, you just select return reservation in your ICE admin panel, go to your, write it down on a piece of paper, go back to your Cisco Smart Software Manager, find your appliance, click on remove, and when you click on remove, it will ask for that return code that you just generated from your appliance, right? Enter the code, remove the reservation, and you're done. That's it. Very, very, very quickly. All right, let's shift gear now and let's talk about the feature analysis. So I focus in this section, I will focus only on product that may have a gap in terms of feature when you are internet connected or if you are in an air-gapped environment, okay? Just keep in mind the ASA, firepower threat defense, secure workload, or identity service engine, there is no feature gap. If you're not connected to the internet, that's not a problem whatsoever. You will have all the features that are available in the product. So I'm gonna start with secure network analytics. If you're not familiar with that solution, this is our network detection and response engine, right? Fantastic, fantastic tool. What do we use as a telemetry? We simply enable NetFlow. So all that investment that you made over the years and all the intelligence that you have in your network, you can leverage that. Whether it's your switches, your wireless LAN controllers, your firewall, potentially your UCS server, you can enable NetFlow, and StealthWatch will use that to detect if something bad is happening on your network, right? One of the very simple use case, and that applies obviously to air-gapped environment, is that you want to validate your segmentation, for example. You want to make sure that it's not even an attempt that a machine on your air-gapped environment is trying to communicate outside of that environment. StealthWatch will let you know right away, almost in real time. That's the beauty of NetFlow, right? And it has also automated response capability. We added what we call the response manager in StealthWatch a couple of versions ago, and it allows you to create that integration, for example, with ICE, such that if StealthWatch detects something and something bad, ICE, who control all the access to the network, can take the proper action. It could be moving that particular host to a different VLAN where you run a different analytics tool to get further detection, for example. It could be as simple as quarantine that particular host, kick him out from the network and preventing it from accessing the network again. And some of the components, just to resume, you have your network as your telemetry source. You will feed StealthWatch with it. And this is where we're going to apply all our built-in algorithm or supervised and unsupervised machine learning. We'll do the behavioral modeling in order to provide a high-fidelity detection engine in your environment. In terms of feature, you're not losing much. You're losing the threat intelligence that is powered by Talos, where Talos will provide updates on known bad IP, known bad domain, all the information that we may have about like command and control server or bots out there. Since you're not connected to the internet, that's not such a big problem, right? What you lose, though, as well, is the encrypted traffic analytics. So ETA, if you're not familiar with it, it allows us to detect to detect malicious traffic over an encrypted channel. Okay, so a piece of malware trying to reach out to its command and control server, that channel is encrypted via SSL. StealthWatch can detect it without doing SSL decryption, right? So let's talk about secure endpoint now, previously known as M for endpoint. Okay, this is our EPP and EDR solution. It runs on Windows, both desktop and servers. It runs on Mac OS X. It runs on Linux, on Android, and on iOS devices, okay? It provides behavioral analytics. It provides like signature-based detection. Some of the super nice features that I like about secure endpoint, first is the in-depth mapping with MITRE and ATT&CK framework. I love the vulnerable and low prevalence. So in the low prevalence, what it will detect is that if you have a piece of software or an application that is kind of unique in your environment, you have this machine that has one particular application that you don't see anywhere else in your environment, it will let you know right away. And it provides automatic response as well. So you can create policies such that, hey, if that particular machine has been deemed compromised, I can act and isolate it completely from the network, right? If we look at the features that you will miss the forensic snapshot. It's not supported with AMP Private Cloud. And unfortunately, you will miss Orbital. What is Orbital? This is our OS query feature within Secure Endpoint. With that, you have like full visibility of what's going on that particular endpoint. You can run queries, automatic or manual. It's a fantastic tool to get deeper visibility into that particular endpoint. So, because I just mentioned AMP Secure Endpoint, one of the components that goes very well with it is Secure Malware Analytics, previously known as ThreatGrid. What is it? This is our sandboxing solution, right? In an air-gapped environment, you're going to deploy that particular appliance. Why do I love ThreatGrid so much? It's because not only it provides static and dynamic analysis, one of the super nice features that it has is what we call Glovebox, right? Where you can interact with the file that you are detonating on that particular appliance, right? So you launch that VM, you start doing the analysis of that particular file. You can open your command prompt, for example. You can open your web browser to interact with that particular sample, right? This is why it's called Glovebox, because we're taking an external approach in order to do the analysis, which makes it very hard for a piece of malware to actually realize that it's being detonated in a sandbox solution. What do you lose with, if you are in an air-gapped environment? You lose the TLS decryption that StealthWatch Secure Analytics public cloud has, right? Think about like a file that is using, again, an encrypted channel. The public cloud instance of ThreatGrid, when we detonate the file, will be able to apply TLS decryption. The air-gapped appliance does not support it. The last two, no biggie. Unless you are like a super fanatic of dust mode, it's not available on the air-gapped appliance, and you lose the monthly organization report. That said, you have like every sample that is detonated in ThreatGrid, you will be able to have like all the full report capability on it. Secure email and secure web. So with email, you will have like the spam-based reputation. You can leverage our advanced malware protection using AMP Private Cloud and the ThreatGrid appliance. And you get the antivirus update. However, all the URL analysis capability, you will lose it in an air-gapped environment, which might not be such a big problem. If we look at secure web, very similar. You can leverage AMP. You have all the web reputation. The AV updates are available via the offline updater. Webroot, anti-malware, and TLS decryption, TLS 1.3 decryption, you will have it without any problem with our web appliance. Now, two big unsupported integration. No SecureX platform integration. Why? Because SecureX reside in the cloud, okay? So if you're not familiar with SecureX, this is our security platform when you can attach all the different Cisco security components to it, and this provides you a single view of your entire security environment. And keep in mind, it's not just the security product that you can use with SecureX. Any third party, you can use them. You're using Microsoft ATP Graph, you can attach it to SecureX. You have vendor XYZ for firewall, you can attach it to SecureX as well. And it provides orchestration and automation capability, so if you want to create your own workflow, for example, to automatically take action when something bad is happening, you can do it, okay? As part of SecureX, and this is a solution that was launched a couple of months ago, you will not neither have device insight if you are in an air-gapped environment. And what device insight does is that it's leveraging existing telemetry source. So it could be your MDM, for example. It could be secure endpoint. It could be Umbrella or Duo, for example. And it will get you all the information on that particular endpoint. What is the operating system? Which version is running? Has it been patched, for example? It also looks at the application. So you want to make sure that the firewall, the host firewall is enabled on that machine. Device Insight will let you know. Disk encryption is enabled. Device Insight will let you know. It's a great, 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 great tool. All right, let's move forward. Let's talk about AMP private cloud and secure malware analytics best practices, deployment best practices. So AMP private cloud, it will run on that appliance. If you are in a true air-gapped environment, there is no virtual option, right? You need to have that AMP appliance. A single AMP appliance will allow you to connect up to 100,000 secure endpoints. We're working on adding features such as clustering so that we can get greater scalability in terms of endpoint. When you deploy it, it's pretty straightforward. You only have like three interfaces. You have your good old CIMC for out-of-band management. You have the admin one, where you're going to set up the private cloud. And the very important one is the AMP console and the disposition. So if you're using the AMP private cloud with secure endpoint, all your secure endpoint will talk to that particular interface, right? Most important, if you integrate it with our firewall, with ThreatGrid, with our email and web security appliance, it will also leverage that AMP console and disposition, okay? And I will go in a little bit more details on what is the flow and what is going on. If we look at ThreatGrid, also known as Secure Malware Analytics Appliance, it's also an hardware appliance. Sorry about that. It's a 1RU good old UCS server. You can cluster up to 5 of them together. A single appliance, depending on your license, will support up to 10,000 unique sample, okay? What I mean by unique sample is like unique files that are detonated on this appliance, okay? You can also do some lookup for IP address and domain that doesn't count in your sample count, okay? In terms of interface, you have the dedicated cluster interface, you have the CIMC for out-of-band management, the administrative one to set up the appliance, and 2 very crucial interfaces. You have the clean interface that is used to communicate with other systems, okay? And the one that we call the dirty interface. The dirty interface is used by the file sample that you detonate to communicate somewhere, okay? It's outbound traffic only. So you may say, well, I'm in an air-gapped environment, so what is the point of using that dirty interface? Well, you can be creative, right? Usually that dirty interface will be as close as possible from the internet, and in the best way, it will be directly connected to the internet because this is what we use when we detonate the sample. So if it's a piece of malware, it wants to try to communicate to its command and control server, well, you don't want that to be on your network for sure. So as close as possible from the internet. If you are in an air-gapped environment, there is nothing preventing you from setting up a server. I have many customers who did that. You set up a server that, for example, reply to any DNS request. Okay? The goal of that is to get as much information as possible when you detonate a file. So this interface is very, very crucial. But what we did with ThreatGrid is that we use like built-in network simulator as well. So even if you decide not to use the dirty interface, we can still try to mimic like a real network connectivity on that particular piece of hardware. All right, let's take a look at the deployment option. So I'm going to focus, of course, on the AMP private cloud and ThreatGrid. So AMP is responsible for the file reputation. There is no difference between the AMP private cloud and the AMP public cloud. This is the single repository of all the files that we have seen. Okay? So usually when you deploy that, and let's say you integrate it whether with secure endpoint or firewall, what is going to happen is that it will extract the hash of the file and do a cloud lookup through the private cloud. It's like, hey, have you seen that file before? Yes, is it good? Good to go. It's bad. I block it. If it's unknown, this is where ThreatGrid will go in action. And what's going to happen is that we're going to take the entire file and send it for analysis to ThreatGrid. So how does it work in an air-gapped environment? Let's take the example of secure endpoint. So secure endpoint will start the analysis of a file. We extract the hash, we'll do a M private cloud lookup. Okay? Have you seen that file before? Yes, it's good to go. It's bad, secure endpoint will block it. If it's unknown, then secure endpoint would send that file to private cloud, which will forward it to ThreatGrid, would do the detonation, and then we are able to see the disposition of the file. And what's going to happen is that ThreatGrid will poke the private cloud, aka it will update the database so that you don't need to reanalyze that file over and over and over. With the firewall, it works slightly differently, okay? With the firewall, you're going to have your management center and you have your secure firewall when you enable the M connector. So the first thing that's going to happen when a file transits through the firewall and you created a policy that says, hey, I want to analyze the file, then the secure firewall will extract the hash, send it to FMC, the management center, which will do a cloud lookup with private cloud. We are waiting for the disposition of the file. If it's unknown, we block it because we are in the path of the traffic. If the file is unknown, then the firewall itself will forward it directly to ThreatGrid. Okay, so keep that in mind when you deploy those solutions. The firewall needs to be able to talk to a ThreatGrid appliance. And similarly, we'll do the analysis. Once the analysis is done, we update the private cloud so that we don't have to do that over and over and over again. Okay? And secure email and web works very, very similarly. Okay? You have an attachment coming through your email system. We will first do the file reputation check using M private cloud. Once we get the information, if necessary, we'll do the dynamic analysis using the ThreatGrid appliance. Once we know we have the final disposition, we update the M private cloud, and we're good to go. All right, we're about to start the last section of that presentation. Integrated security best practices, and let's see a couple of examples. So when I talk to the customer, I'm always amazed. Some of them have like 10, 20, 30. I have customers that have like 100 different security tools in their environment. The biggest challenge with all of that is the complexity that goes together, because most of those systems did not necessarily talk to each other. The beauty of our integrated security architecture is that we have hooks between our product natively all the time. Web, for example, the M private cloud and ThreatGrid is a very good example. Right? Or firewall, I don't know if how much familiar you are with the management center, but there is a super nice feature that is called the correlation rules in FMC, right? And what the correlation rules allows you to do is to, based on certain attribute or certain event that may happen and detected by your firewall, you can take proper action. All you need to do is to either download the predefined remediation module that we have. So for example, if you spin up or firewall management center, by default, it has the ICE remediation module in it, right? If you want to be creative and you want to create your own remediation module, you can. There is nothing preventing you of doing that. It's completely open. So let's cover one of the latest integration that we have. If you have StealthWatch or Secure Network Analytics in your environment, you can attach it to your Firepower Management Center. And what that feature is called Secure Analytics and Logging on-premise, right? What it's going to do is that first thing first, it will drastically enhance the log retention capability of your firewall environment, right? And once we have the logs from the firewall, ASA, or Firepower Threat Defense, you can run all the analytics that StealthWatch is providing based on that new telemetry source, right? So if there is an event that is detected by Firepower Management Center, well, you can quickly pivot to StealthWatch to get further information and to see what StealthWatch detected as well, okay? Another very strong integration is our AMP ecosystem, right? Why do I love AMP so much? It's because it covers all the attack vector, web, email, firewall, so aka the network. Either you just deploy like a pure firewall or your IPS system, and last but not least, the endpoint, okay? It will provide you retrospective detection, and we have a very good example of what is retrospection right here. So here this screenshot comes from your firewall. We see that file, it's unknown, you can look at the disposition over here. At this particular time, It's unknown, but we start seeing the file moving across multiple hosts. And at 1810, what is happening is that we have that retrospection event, which means, hey, we got an update, okay? In an air-gapped environment, you updated your AMP private cloud system, and now the firewall knows that, hey, that file, I thought it was good, or I didn't know the disposition. I know now that it's a bad file, so let's take action. This guy over here, that particular host, luckily it already has secure endpoint on it, so that particular piece of malware is quarantined automatically. Okay? If the files try to move again through the firewall, now we know that it's bad, so we will be able to block it. Okay? Makes sense? Secure workload. As per its name, it's focusing on protecting your workload. One of the fantastic features that is within this product is what we call the application dependency mapping. Prior to joining Cisco, I've been administrating firewall for many years, right? When you talk to the application guy as a firewall admin, you're like, hey, which port do I need to open through your firewall? Oh, you just need like 443 and 80 and that's it, that's all. Well, 9 times out of 10, if not like 99.99%, that's not the case. And you have to spend time on looking at all the logs and how the application talk to each other. This is built in secure workload. Right? The way you deploy it in an air-gapped environment, you're going to have a full rack of appliances, and you're going to deploy an agent, right? The secure workload agent that can be deployed in pure visibility mode or visibility and enforcement. Okay? And when you are in enforcement mode, well, what we're going to do is that we're going to take the information from that application dependency mapping, and Tetration or secure workload will automatically generate the policy for you, right? You don't have to do anything. It knows exactly how the applications start talking to each other, and it will generate the rules. So you may ask, well, I cannot deploy agent everywhere on any system in my air-gapped environment. Well, that's not a problem, because secure workload integrates with our firewall system. So we're still going to be able to see like the application mapping, and we can update the firewall automatically. It will create new object in your management center, and it will generate rules automatically as well. So with all that information that we have, like we can start doing some pretty neat stuff. And one of them is the rapid threat containment, right? I can start with, hey, what is my firewall going to detect? My secure workload may detect also something fishy. And we have that built-in integration such that, for example, I'm going to be able to leverage ICE, or I'm going to be able to talk to my AP controller in my ACI fabric to potentially like move a particular host that may have been compromised. So let's take a look at some example, right? In the good old days, what is the problem? Well, maybe you have like a file, a malicious file that has been introduced in your environment, right? Or you may have an insider threat, aka someone doing data hoarding and potentially data exfiltration. Usually it can take hours, most likely it's gonna take many days for you to first detect that something bad is happening, depending on the tools that you have, of course. And the other challenge is that, okay, what is the scope of that particular threat? Right? If it's a malicious file, how many hosts have been touched by that particular file, right? If it's data hoarding, how much data, right? How many pivoting point that particular insider took? Well, the beauty of it is that if we have FMC and we will leverage like either on next-gen firewall, the IPS engine, maybe the AMP event, the AMP engine within our firewall detects something, right? It can automatically trigger ICE and take the proper action. So again, if I take the example of a malware, you don't want to take any chance, right? You just simply want to have that host completely isolated from the network. ICE will provide that, okay? FMC will detect it, talk to ICE, said, hey, that host is doing something bad or it has been infected, kick him out from the network, prevent it from touching the rest of the network, okay? Very, very, very cool stuff. And we can do the same thing with secure workload. Very similar, but now more at the workload level, right? So you have your endpoint visibility. There is an event that has been triggered by FMC again. What we're going to do, FMC will leverage the northbound API and talk to Tetration, and Tetration will push what we call the quarantine rules that you define, right? AKA that's going to be isolate that host completely. I don't want it to touch my network anymore. Okay? So that was the secure workload piece. The other one, if you're running ACI in your environment, you can do the exact same thing. Again, I got my detection engine. Again, it's the firewall that detect that something fishy happened on a particular host that was on my production EPG. Well, once the firewall that knows that it's bad, it will talk again via the northbound API to the APIC controller of your fabric, and it will tell APIC to move that particular host from the production EPG to what we call the quarantine, the microsegmentation EPG, sorry. And last but not least is the secure network analytics and ICE integration. Again, you're gonna use SNA to detect, well, to protect your network and get full visibility. You wanna make sure that there is no data hoarding, data exfiltration, potentially like segmentation violation. Well, StealthWatch will let you know right away. And again, it's using NetFlow, so it's near real time, right? It's extremely, extremely efficient, okay? And what is gonna happen when it detects something, it will use what we call the adaptive network control policy to take the proper action with our identity service engine, okay? So I can kick out that particular machine and prevent it from accessing the network. Or I can switch it to another zone in my network where I'm running like different security analytics tool, okay? So we're talking about automation here, and I know sometimes when I talk to my customers, they're like, well, you know what, like automating all that stuff, it sounds scary. I don't want to lock down my network. Well, we need to keep in mind that the detection engine today are much more efficient than it used to be 10 years ago, okay? The level of false positive is extremely low, so you can actually deploy that kind of automation and protect your network very quickly without, and you can sleep at night. I think that's the most important thing. Everybody wants to be able to sleep at night, right? So, we are about to reach the end of that presentation. So, I hope you now understand that even if you're not connected to the internet and you're running a true air-gapped environment, there is nothing preventing you from doing all the good stuff that our integrated security architecture can provide. That rapid threat containment, use it. It's great. It's working just fine. I have many customers who testify as like, oh, thank God I enabled that because I save a tremendous amount of time when something bad is happening in my environment. So you're gonna be here all week. So a couple of sessions that I really encourage you to follow. If you're working close to government, that securing government network, BRKSEC 3000, it's a great session. If you're focusing on firewall, I will recommend those two, especially the roadmap one, where we talk in a deeper, about like the integration between firewall and workload. And last but not least is the secure client session, where you will see that new unified agent that leverages the AnyConnect framework, and you will see all the great stuff that you can do. So this is Cisco Live, and of course there are surveys. So I strongly encourage you to fill up that survey. You're gonna earn points. I think it's after 4 surveys. You can go at the desk out there and you're gonna get prizes. And your feedback is important. So please, please, please fill out your survey. If you want like one slide that says all about security architecture, here it is. Whether your focus is on zero trust, it's on application security, on secure access and secure edge, it covers like all the different products and it does the product mapping for all those different security solutions. Cisco Live is about learning, so please continue your education. You will have like multiple other sessions. You can train yourself. Don't forget to you can also certify yourself. So if you want to pass your CCNP or CCNA, like go ahead. You can do all of this right here. And don't forget, go to the showcase at the World of Solution. You can book one-on-one meeting via the Meet the Engineer. I'll be here all week, so if you have further questions, please like ping me on WebEx, and we can do further discussion. I'll be at Capture the Flag as well all week. That's going to be a lot of fun as well. So if you're interested to have some fun at the World of Solution, please come to see me at the Capture the Flag. And of course, you're going to have access to all those sessions via the on-demand library. So I hope you had a good time. I wanted to thank you so much for attending the session. Enjoy Cisco Live and have fun. Thank you.